Welcome to another episode of Nothing But Dicta, the podcast where everyone has an opinion and you get to hear it. My name is Erin, and today we're meeting with Megan Osborn to talk about her life as an attorney for San Diego Legal Aid. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to do it.
So you went to GW for law school, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
2014 to 2017.
So when you were in law school, did you always kind of want to do public interest work? Was this something that developed over the course of your studies, or did you know coming in public interest is where you want to be?
Yeah, that's exactly where I wanted to be. Basically, I got an interest in law when I was in undergrad. I took some constitutional law courses from my university, and I really fell in love with the legal kind of concepts and ideas, but I was a sociology major. So what I studied a lot when I was in undergrad was theories of poverty, why is society stratified, and why do people not get what they need? And so that was really the focus that I was coming from when I started learning about law, and then I did Teach for America straight out of undergrad. And that was what I did right before I did law school. So that was definitely the public interest mindset, and that's what I wanted to gear my whole career towards. First, when I was in education, and then when I was in education, I felt really disempowered as a teacher. I didn't really feel like I had a lot of opportunities to advocate for my students. And I was really biased towards the law because when I was in undergrad, like I said, I took law classes, but I also did debate. And so I really gained a lot of confidence arguing in debate in college. And I found that was my strength, basically trying to, contribute to society in some sort of way to make things better. I definitely felt when I was in undergrad, one of my questions when I was talking to my advisor about what I wanted to do with my career was, he asked me do you want to be a participant or do you want to be an observer? So that was a huge question for me that made me decide, one, that I wanted to get involved and take an active role in systems which create stratification and poverty, like education, like law, and the criminal justice system, and then now I'm in civil law. But it was that or being a researcher, and I decided to be a participant rather than an observer. Not that both aren't important, but that's a choice that I decided to make.
What does a day-to-day kind of look for you working for legal aid?
Basically, what I do is I work in evictions. So if someone gets posted on their door, a complaint under what's called unlawful detainer, they say you have to pay your rent or get out in 3 days. That's basically what the notice on their door says. And if you can imagine that happening to you, it's terrifying. So there's often a contact number on that paper that directs them to legal aid if they can't afford to hire a regular attorney. So we receive those calls in through our contact line, and then if they are an eviction, then they come to our team. Our team gets all of the information from them, like the complaint, all of their information to see if they're qualified from a financial perspective, and then if the other side is being represented by an attorney, because we can only represent people if the other side is also represented by an attorney, because the goal of our team is to level the playing field. Things are really busy and really crazy right now, especially in California, because we already had a housing crisis before this happened. So things are pretty nuts right now. I spend a lot of my day writing pleadings that are interpreting laws that were just passed this month. I'm trying to literally write arguments for hearings. Some of them are emergency hearings because people are getting evicted and we need to try to stay a lockout, which means somebody's going to get locked out of their house by a certain date, and we appear in court and we're trying to convince the court to not do that, either for a technicality or just for a public policy, for the fact that it's a pandemic right now. We don't want to flood the streets and homeless shelters with people. That is the opposite of what we're trying to do. I don't know if you've heard, but the CDC put out an order of an eviction moratorium. California has put out a similar moratorium. So what I spend my day doing is writing pleadings that are interpreting those two laws right now, the CDC moratorium and AB 3088. And we're trying to make persuasive legal arguments. And then the attorneys that are actually appearing in court, because I just started in June, so I haven't been there for a really long time, but I do have experience in court. Before this, I was working in criminal law, so I was in court every day. So I'm really excited to get back in and do all of that. But writing the pleadings is really important because that's the thing that the judge sees first. Before you even get into court, they're reading the papers and they are prepared, and the judge is asking pointed questions to the attorneys, but the pleadings are what support everything. So I'm helping the attorneys for a whole bunch of cases that are coming into our office. Like I said, because it's a pandemic and because a lot of people haven't been able to pay their rent, it's kind of a torrent situation. And with all of the new laws, we're trying to provide as much protection to these people as we possibly can.
What is like the hardest thing that you have to kind of deal with in your job on the daily?
I would say it's always a big challenge to work with people in the community that have mental illness and can't understand various aspects of their cases because of their mental illness. And that is very challenging. It's somebody facing an emergency situation, which of course is going to trigger a lot of trauma and problems for people that are already dealing with a mental health crisis on a regular basis or dealing with mental illness long term. Even people that don't have mental illness are terrified because they have children a lot of the time. And so dealing with their panic and being that cool, calm person in the room can be really challenging when you're constantly doing that. You have to have a balance between actually listening to someone and their problems and knowing that every case is different, while at the same time fielding the flood that is the situation where there are a lot of people that are in panicked situations. So being that calm person, I think, is one of the most difficult.
Do you think there's like any courses from GW or any experiences that the school kind of gave you that really kind of translated into the work that you're doing now?
I think the most important thing when it comes to if you want to work in the public interest sector is to sign up for as many internships that you can get credit for as possible. I did a decent amount of on the ground internships. Either I worked for the Innocence Project for a semester, and then I also, my entire third year was doing DC Law Students in Court Criminal Division, where we represented the same types of clients that we're representing now, which are, clients from very, very low resource areas that are facing really serious situations legally. The thing that law school will not teach you is the emotional stamina that you need to do that job. And the only way that you're going to build that up is to expose yourself constantly to the type of clients that you are going to be representing and the things that they're up against. Because, if you stay inside of like the beautiful building that is GW and the very, very privileged area that GW is in, then you will not understand where these clients are coming from and what they're facing. You need to constantly put yourself in that environment.
Wow, that's really great advice, Megan. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. So if you guys like what you heard, please like and subscribe to our YouTube page. And as always, tune in again for another episode of Nothing But Dicta.